That's what's important. I think that we're going to be able to reduce a lot of the chemicals that we're using. We'll have a better product for the consumer and a much healthier one. Less than 1% of us are farmers today, and that includes everyone.
In this episode of Planting Pit Stops, we're going to check out the Massey Ferguson stackable planter. We're also going to meet with Oseola Implement and learn about how they support the planting season in Nebraska. And we're going to wrap it all up with learning about metering systems on planters.
Well, my name is Hank McGowan. I'm from McCool Junction, Nebraska. I've always loved playing in the dirt. I went to college at the University of Nebraska after I graduated high school, but I've always been very involved with the farm. Always helped my dad. I went with him from the time I was old enough to walk, and pretty much till now. I still got him. Yeah, he used to pull a two-row lister. My grandpa would ride the lister. There weren't any hydraulics on it. It had the arms with the, and he said that B John Deere was wore out when he bought it during the war. We've come a long way. Dad, they used to farm with horses, and Dad said, truthfully, a team of horses would pull more than a tractor. But you couldn't run the horses all day because they'd get tired and you'd kill them. So you had to give them a rest on the end and things like this that we don't even consider anymore. And we farm predominantly about 2,000 acres, mostly corn and soybean production. We introduced cover crops in 2020. One of the problems that we've always faced with cover crops is whether you could get through the trash and the residue. And I can tell you that we've solved that problem with the Massey equipment that we're using today. Well, this planter is a Massey Ferguson 16-row stack fold. It has the vDrive downforce, and it offers a starter fertilizer kit. I run a mounted planter because we gravity irrigate, and we have to get close to the fence in many instances where we throw out our irrigation pipe. And I farm a lot of little bitty patches around the river, around the creeks where there might be 10 acres or 5 acres. There are irregular tracks. It does make it very simple to back up into corners and plant the entire field where you don't leave a large area with something that might have a long tongue. So that's predominantly why we go with the stack fold mounted planter. This machinery is simple to operate, it's effective, and this planter is ease of operation is probably the biggest sounding board that you can have for it. It is very functional, it is very easy to maintain. You know, it just works. If there are any problems, Oseola Implement's been excellent about coming out and addressing it if they need them to, or just basically calling me back, which is a big issue in this day and age. We plant an awful lot of cover crops and practice predominantly regenerative ag practices. This field is tilled today, but this is one of 2 that we have tilled, so most of the rest of them have cover crops. We introduced cover crops in 2020 as a feed source. We wanted to stretch our cattle feed a lot farther and expand our herd, which we were able to more than double it in size. We don't have as much pasture as we do farmland, so that's kind of the case around here. So we were able to graze our cover crops in the spring. It improved our cow herd health, and it also stopped a lot of erosion. And we after the first couple of years, we started realizing benefits to the soil that we really hadn't expected to, and we've reduced our erosion considerably. What excites me about it is I think that I'm going to be able to produce a much healthier, better yielding crop. That's what's important. I think that we're going to be able to reduce a lot of the chemicals that we're using. We'll have a better product for the consumer and a much healthier one. And I think that there's a lot of people in the ag industry that are working very hard to do just that.
We had a lot of fun learning about stackable planters and the different conditions they can plant in. We're now going to meet with Garret, who's part of Oseola Implement, and learn about how the single-family store in Nebraska supports their local farmers.
My name's Garret Davidson. I'm from Oseola, Nebraska. I'm with Oseola Implement. We are a single store, family-owned dealership. When I come back from college, my father kind of said, well, it's your baby. Kind of put it in my lap to take it over and do it. It means something special to me to to be the third generation and to carry it on. My biggest goal is to grow the customer base, grow the brand. You know, there's a lot of people in the world that don't realize what we do out here. We really put the customer first. Our customers really appreciate when they can pick the phone up and talk to the owner or talk to the owner's son. My phone rings nonstop during planting season, whether it's planting or GPS questions. Growing up, I've seen a lot of the technological advances that we have in planting and in agriculture. I can remember growing up, if you didn't disc everything, turn it black, make it look like a garden, and go out there and plant it with a finger pickup or a positive air planter, you weren't doing it right. Anymore today, you see a lot of different practices in farming. We've got strip till, we've got a lot of no-till, we've got a lot of cover crops. There's still some conventional tillage out there. But the technological side of it, the technology has changed, so it's so advanced for what our equipment can do now compared to what it could do 20 years ago is just night and day difference. When we can take a planter and drop seeds perfectly and have 99.9% singulation all throughout the field with the correct downforce and everything, the technology has really come a long ways. The biggest thing that I would say with our Massey planters is the ease of use and the simplicity. We have one of the simplest planters on the market. We also have one of the easiest to maintain on the market. The maintenance on it is very slim, and the product has stood up to any conditions.
Now that we've wrapped up our conversation with Garret, Jason, Lee, and I are going to discuss why metering system is so important on a planter. This week's planter technology segment will focus on the meter. And a meter helps farmers achieve better singulation. And so no matter what planter brand you have, they all have a meter. And at a high level, a meter grabs seed from either a mini hopper if you have a central fill system, or a larger row unit mounted hopper. And then either through a blower or a vacuum, will push or pull seeds onto a seed disc or plate. And ultimately the goal is to have one seed per hole or divot. And so this one's specifically a soybean plate. And so there's a lot more holes than you'd find on a corn plate. But anyway, the seed gets pulled onto it with the vacuum, it then rotates around, and then at a certain part here, the vacuum's cut off and the seed will drop one at a time down the seed tube into the open furrow. I guess, Jason, can you tell us a little bit about why meters are so important when it comes to seed singulation?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, what is one of the goals of this planter? Is to drop one seed at a time into that furrow. And we want equal plant spacing. We want to drop one seed at a time. And the reason we want to do that all comes down to that per plant competition. So if I can have my plants spaced equally apart, they all have equal access to those essential resources, nutrients, water, and light. Okay, so what happens though when I start dropping two seeds at a time and I get a double? Well, what happens is those plants will really start competing with each other, and then I end up with two smaller ears, less yield. Okay, so what happens when I get a skip? I don't drop any seed. Well, now I don't have a plant to produce an ear, so I lose out on yield altogether. We've looked at the importance of seed singulation a ton in our crop tour studies. We found that if I have a 6% drop in my seed singulation, that can cost me up to 5 bushels per acre, which really can add up. So seed singulation and perfectly spacing those plants out is super critical to the planter operation. But depending on your metering technology, there can be a lot of reasons why maybe we don't always get that picket fence stand like we're looking for. Hybrids, especially when we're talking about corn, come in all different shapes and sizes. And so maybe you didn't make the right adjustment to your meters so that they're dropping one seed at a time like we want. Forrest, talk to us a little bit now about our metering system.
Yeah, so on Massey Ferguson planters, we have Precision Planting's vSet meter system. And some of the benefits to this meter's technology is it's kind of a flat cell or flat disc, and so it's not really sensitive to seed size or shape, and so it can singulate 99 point, almost 100% without any adjustments, right? So it allows you to really singulate well. Some other benefits of it is very easy to change out. You just pull this cotter pin, you have your disc, it's labeled, it's usually color coded. Here's the ejection wheel, also the same color. And so depending on the crop you have, Precision will have a set of crop kit. The one thing we didn't really talk about, I didn't highlight earlier, is of course the seed meters are spinning, and so how they're done is through an sealed electric motor, which is called vDrive. Traditionally, a planter used to be ground drive, or you'd have a wheel running off one of the planter main tires, and it would turn a chain, and that would turn a shaft, and those would turn the meters. But now, Massey Ferguson have electric meters, allowing each row unit or each meter to act independently of each other. So you got vDrive. This allows for each row to plant a different population. It allows row by row shutoff, so you're not over planting, so you're only planting the seeds you need and not, again, using extra seed. It also allows turn compensation. So when you're going around a turn, your outside rows will be moving faster than your inside rows. So if you had a set population, you plant fewer seeds, or you'd have more space between each seed, whereas on the inner side it'd be closer. So this way allows you to have that perfect spacing every time. And so that's how Massey Ferguson with the precision planting vSet meter helps farmers achieve better singulation. Next week we'll be with another grower in Nebraska, then we'll take a trip to Illinois to visit Precision Planting's PTI farm. And lastly, we'll talk about why downforce is so important on a planter to achieve uniform planting depth.